This is a picture of the radio in my 2008 Mercedes SLK. Um, this is an after picture after all of this work. I apologize for no before picture, but this radio um, had a quite scratched up face, and the 5 buttons along the bottom were completely stuck. It looked like it might have had some coffee or something spilled in it and gummed up. And if you pressed any one of those, it would stick and then the radio would quit working. So I decided that I would completely remove and clean the faceplate and repaint it. And this video is about actually how to remove the radio, disassemble it, and get to the point where all the buttons and everything have been removed. All right, this radio has a really dirty face panel scratched up, and these 5 buttons on the bottom are just locked up tight. It's had some coffee or something spilled in it. They're real sticky and they don't work anymore. If you try to press them, the radio will lock up. So what we're going to do is take this thing apart and clean it. The first thing you'll notice that there's a couple of little metal latches on either side between the top and the bottom section of the radio. So we're going to try to loosen those latches and these 2 screws on the top here. So we can remove the top part of the radio. All right, now you see the 2 little tabs where these screws came out. In a minute, we're going to come back and lever up on those tabs, and you'll see how it comes apart in just a minute. But I'm going to just try to pre-loosen these little latches on the side so the thing will come apart smoothly. I'm not taking anything apart here. I'm just trying to give it room. Just put my little pry tool in there and just wedging it up just a little bit. Now I'm going to try and pry under this little tab here. This is right where we took the screws out. And you'll see that the lid will kind of lift up a little bit. Let's pry up on this side too. Ah, okay. So now the top part of the radio will kind of swing away. You can see it's hinged on the back. So we can lift this up, and there's a ribbon cable which we'll pry up with a screwdriver. This top part is the optical drive. It'll be a little bit loose, kind of rattling around now that we've got this separated like this, but it won't hurt anything if it comes loose. It's pretty easy to fit back together. I'm just going to gently lift up on the edges of this ribbon connector. And now you can see the top will come away. It's hinged in the back, and you can just lift it out. And now you can set that aside. Now we're going to work on removing the bottom half of the radio from the faceplate. First, we need to undo these 2 ribbon cables. This one's a little bit different from the last one we just did. So there's a little catch that you have to lift up on. You lift up on both sides. Once you lift up that catch, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so, then that white ribbon cable will slip out. I want to be careful with this. Let's go ahead and get this one out of the way. This one works the same way the previous one did. So let's just go ahead and pry it up, get it out of the way so we have room to work. All right, that one's free. All right, let's just get it out of the way now. And we can go back to the white ribbon cable now. Again, very gently, just lifting up one side and then the other. The latch comes up maybe 1/8 of an inch, and once it's up, then that white ribbon cable will just pull right out. If it won't come out, you didn't pull it up far enough. Now both of those ribbon cables are free, so the faceplate and the bottom half of the radio can come apart now. And you'll see on the left and the right side there's some little latches. Sorry for the bad lighting here. You can see them right in here, and you just have to kind of lever those two pieces apart. And then the bottom half of the radio also hinged to the faceplate. You want to be careful here not to break the plastic in this this little setup here. Okay, you can see this side's coming apart. Now I'll go over to the other side, kind of lever it back a little bit. And I think they're separated now on both sides. Yep, and you can see the bottom half of the radio comes away from the faceplate. Now let's just spread out something a little bit soft to put under it. And I don't show it here, but at this point, you should go ahead and pry the power and the volume knob up off from the front. It'll just pry right up if you put a wedge or a tool underneath it. And there's 12 screws that hold the faceplate together here. We're going to just remove all of those. Now that we've got those 12 screws out, we can start to disassemble the faceplate. This magnesium panel on the back can come off first. The faceplate is 3 or 4 layers that are sandwiched together, and it includes some a printed circuit board and this magnesium panel in the back. So these just snap together here. You may have to use a small wedge or somehow pry them apart, but especially if there's been coffee spilled in it, these might be stuck together. So there's a little slot here, kind of pry up. There's 2 slots like this. You can just kind of pry those up. and then the plastic should pull away from the magnesium, and you'll have to feed those wires through to get to them. And now we're starting to see the electronics. There's a small ribbon cable to the power button here, and like the first white cable we did, ribbon cable we did a few minutes ago, this one has a little latch, little lever you have to loosen, and then you can pull the cable right out. Mine was a little bit sticky, so I had to use my tool to pull it out. Trying to be careful with this ribbon cable here. Okay, finally. Now, once that's disconnected, you can actually remove the circuit board, and this is where most of the damage occurs when your radio gets flooded with any kind of liquids. Now, at this point, you probably want to be careful not to turn the faceplate over. You want to keep it in this position, or little loose things will fall out. It'll make your life a lot more complicated when you reassemble. It won't make it impossible, but it'll make it more complicated. So we're just going to take this apart. And as we're taking this apart, I'm trying to lay things out in roughly the same orientation as I removed them from the radio. So just the geometry. Um, it'll be easier to reinstall things if you know exactly where they came from, and you know which way they were facing, up or down, etc. And once you start taking these covers off, you'll find that some of the buttons can just fall right out. So you want to kind of pay attention to that. And as you remove things, as the best you can, just try to keep things oriented to make reassembly easier. And I may not have disassembled all of the items here in the most efficient or sensible order. So feel free to change it around, change the order of removal around if you want to. The one thing I will say is that these little plastic bits, they all look very much the same, but they're not. If you look at these with a magnifying glass, you'll see that there's markings on each of them that distinguish them from each other. So just because two pieces of plastic look the same doesn't mean that they are the same. They might be off by just, you know, a very tiny fraction of an inch or millimeter, but they're not the same. And if you try to reassemble the radio without putting things exactly where they're supposed to go, then things just won't go together. And as I said, you can always use a magnifying glass and look at the markings on the little pieces. They're all individually marked at the factory. So you know, worst case scenario, everything just falls off the table and onto the floor. You can still reassemble it, but you'll be using a magnifying glass to do it. Here we're just prying up the volume and power button board. And at this point, the LCD panel in the middle, the silver part, is completely free. It's not held in with any screws. There are two small screws on the sides, but those screws do not secure the LCD panel into the radio. It'll just pull right out at this point. There are three small metal, what look like grounding clips in the corners, and you'll see those as you lift it out. These just kind of slip into place when you're reassembling. Now there's a couple of small light pipes on the side of the disc, the slot where the disc goes in. And the idea here is to just disassemble, just to remove as much plastic from this as we can in anticipation of painting. I apologize for going a little off frame here. You can see these little light guides here, light pipes for lighting up that slot. And again, we're just going to remove all the little bits and pieces that we can. Try to keep them in order. I'm going to need a little bit more room, so just give me 1 second. Some of these buttons are just one piece and they'll just pull right out like that one just did. And I can pull many of them, just will pull straight out. This one's not ready yet because I need to remove a few other things before it'll be free. I can go ahead and remove a good number of these. And I'm putting them in geometric order. Now to get these last four buttons on this side out, I have to pry up this little piece of plastic here. And then the 5 small buttons on the side of the LCD panel have to come out. A little bit fiddly here, and again, I didn't necessarily do this in just the right order, but these small buttons, again, they're not all the same size, although they look the same size. So I'm going to be very careful to lay those out in the order I took them out of the faceplate. And now that those are out, I can get the rest of the buttons on this side out of the faceplate. Now, these buttons are just one piece of fair. You just pull them out from the back. There's nothing securing them in there. Now the next set of buttons in this round, the arrow buttons. This is a little bit more complicated. There's a total of 9 buttons in there, and these buttons are a two-piece affair. So each button has a back and a front. So once you've pried the back away from the front, just the way we're doing here, you'll find that the front part of the button on the front of the faceplate will just kind of fall out. So I'm going to be kind of careful to keep this all kind of stationary and sitting here while I pull these 9 backs off of these buttons. And again, I'm laying them out the way I took them off of the faceplate. The backs of these buttons, they can be a little bit sticky, so to speak. So you may have to work at them with a tool like I've got here, or a small screwdriver or something to just kind of lift them up and unsnap them from the front piece of the button. Here you'll see in just a minute what I'm talking about, the back and the front of the buttons. And as I said before, each of these little plastic pieces here, they look the same, but they're not. And each one has some labeling from the factory that would help you if you needed to reassemble these without knowing where they came from. So there's the 10 or the 9 backs from these buttons. Now I'm just going to lift up the faceplate, and you'll see that the fronts of these buttons, kind of the operator side, have all just, for the most part, just kind of fallen loose. So now I'm going to put those next to their counterparts. And the buttons on the other side are pretty much the same. And that pretty much leaves these 5 buttons on the bottom. And this tool right here, it's a pair of tweezers. And I'm actually putting the tweezers underneath the front of the button on the front side of the face panel. And the reason I'm doing this is just I absolutely could not pry up the backs of these buttons. And this tool was absolutely uh, helpful to remove those 5 buttons along the bottom. I tried with the screwdriver, ended up kind of halfway cracking some of the backs of those buttons, but this tool was pretty much the only tool that I had in my toolbox that was helpful at all for removing them. And again, those 5 buttons along the bottom, those are the sticky ones. Those are the ones that collect the coffee. So now we're removing the light ring for the power and the volume button. Now there's one little light pipe uh, that is on the top. It's right down in here in this area. And you see this little clear dot here. I'm just going to try to press that down, and that light pipe will just fall right out of the back. Now it came loose. There's also a little chrome ring around the power and volume button on the front of the faceplate. I didn't actually show it, but you can pry that out pretty easily. And your panel is now pretty much ready for prep and paint. If you have any sticky buttons, now would be the time to clean them.